This is a test. Can you hear the transcript?
To call the Clatsop County Fair Board work session to order. All members are present. Kyle, go ahead and take it away there, boss.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. This is the regular time of our meeting, so it was a really quick turnaround. I know that it was basically what 4 work days in between trying to get you guys this packet. So sorry it came a little late. I tried to get it a little earlier and we're here. So tonight we've got Anthony and Gail both here from the county. We have some time set aside here to talk about the agenda and the calendar, and then Anthony will just kind of introduce himself, and then kind of start game planning on what we want to do for the full field, and then have Gail here to answer any questions as we try to figure out what we want to do down there. So we just want to start by looking at the event calendar. There are a couple highlights to talk about. First, that are connected with some of these. The Friends of the Fair events are going to be coming up in the spring. They've asked for a discounted rate for the last few years. They haven't come in yet to ask for that rate change, and so we'll need to get them in here to talk about that. The resource dinner is also on the calendar, and they haven't come in to ask for their rate reduction like they have. I think basically ever since they've been doing it, you guys have waived all of these for that. So we'll need to get them here because that's in January. And then the Wishing Tree, they've been starting to store food items here in the annex already. But if you all would like to volunteer to help with them on the handout day, I think I sent you guys all that link. That was one of the things when we approved them to use this dose that the board was interested in participating in that program. And then today is this wedding. This weekend is the craft bazaar, and then next weekend is the flat track motocross race. Which put all the hay over there. They delivered a bunch of hay. We'll roll this out for them, and we can start promoting for them a little. He said they're expecting about 200 riders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know how many spectators they're really expecting. I think he's really more interested in just having an event for the riders. But you know, he'd be happy to see 800 people show up here for it.
So what's the date on that?
The 14th. And then Mallory sent me a message. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but about potentially doing that thing.
Oh, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
which thing? Yeah, so just thinking about doing, so with the rodeo, we had the barrel racers, and the biggest concern was our footing. And so I'm hoping to maybe put together a time only night where people can come pay $5 to run the barrels, not really do a jackpot yet, but just get the word out about our ground being a lot better and having some knowledge behind the ground instead of just having them go out and run. So put some ideas together and we'll kind of see how it works and
Yeah.
go from there.
She had a flyer for it. I think it sounds great if we can be hosting as many events as we can. It is during open ride, so
Yeah,
we'll have to figure
I
that
can work
out.
with them and talk to them because it's something that they could join into. And
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to, it's fun, period. So
This is the same calendar that I showed you guys last week. This is a short turnaround. The other one is the Army is going to be here next Tuesday again. They're going to do another one of those decontamination exercises. They'll just be outside. We just let them set up and do their thing. Yep. So on to the rolling calendar. Everything's kind of bunched up because there's so many things that need to get the ball rolling on. This meeting is basically what's on the agenda. Next meeting, we'll want to start talking about budget. Another one that I thought about after I printed this was selection of the chair and vice chair, the first meeting of every year. You guys vote amongst yourselves on who's the chair and vice chair. Right now, Matt's the chair, and there's not an official vice chair because that was one of the resignations, so. That'll be probably the first thing on the meeting in January, and then start chipping away on some of this other stuff. I think probably the main priority right now, though, is getting these committees going and getting the fair direction. And then watch out. If you guys have anything that you would like to see on this calendar, let me know. We'll make sure that we bring it to you.
No, I'm sure. Just remind that it's supposed to be effective.
That
It's, should be right back.
is that that's not for
No.
that item.
All right. Anthony Pope, would you like to introduce yourself and just kind of talk about your role and as it pertains to the Fair Board?
Sure, I'm going to stand over here. if that's
You can
okay.
do whatever you need to do, sir.
My name's Anthony Pope. I'm the county council. Been with the county for about 2 years now. And I just wanted to come out and introduce myself. One of my roles here at the county, I provide legal advice for all the boards and commission in the county, including the Fair Board. As Matt can attest, you might not see a lot of me. Doesn't mean I'm not there, not
Yeah.
willing to help. Most of my work will be with Kyle and staff working on contracts and negotiating things. But I just wanted to make sure you guys knew I was here if you had any questions. Really with anything, I think I have to talk to Kyle, but I'd like to do a new ethics training maybe one of these days, because there's some ethical considerations for you, new board members might not know. Want to make sure nobody gets in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really short introduction. I don't know if you want anything else, just let me know. Any questions or? All right,
Yeah.
I should have brought business
You
cards
got
like Gail, I didn't, so I'll go ahead and shoot you guys all an email with my contact information.
Bruce has got a question for you.
Since the schedule's pretty open, can we schedule that? I'm new to the ethics thing
Yeah.
fairly quickly before I do something stupid unknowingly.
Yep, I'm pretty open, so I don't know, Kyle, if you have some dates there, when's the next?
Our meetings are the first Tuesday of every month.
Okay,
Uh,
so
Or if we want to do a special daytime meeting or a Zoom meeting or a nighttime Zoom meeting or something. I don't know, maybe you want to loop this together with any other boards and do or
Yeah. and
encompassing.
I'll see if anybody else wants to join us and, yeah, we can get back, but
On that topic, I just went through the state one through the city of Warrenton. Is that covered?
that will cover it. And that's actually, I was gonna mention that there is a new state law, where all the board members within the time of your term will have to attend the state provided training. I can't do that. It has to be their official one. They do, 1 or 2 online every month, and then every so often they'll come to the area. I think that was the plan. Did they mention about coming back or? Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it's really good basic information. It's pretty,
So we need to have that as part of, that's required.
yeah, so any board member within their term has to attend that.
So that might be more effective use of our time. Not that it would be great unless there's something specific.
I think they cover the basics. There's some other things I'd like to go over.
Okay.
It'd be pretty quick. We could do, 10 or 15 minutes, but, just some things I'd like to.
Somebody said online, is it?
Yeah, you have to register through the state, but I can provide you that information. And I'll see, I know they called me before they're gonna come down. They think they're coming back in January to the community college or something, so I'll check on that to make sure.
Kind of in the same vein, once we got to the regular meeting, I was gonna kind of go over this binder as part of my update to you all, but the county does have a citizen advisory committee handbook, and I provided that to you guys in this. It's not as involved as what you'll get from Anthony, but it does hit on some of that good stuff in there.
Right? So yeah, I'll work with Kyle, I'll get some dates out there for you, but if nobody else wants to join us, maybe we can just do it in the next, board meeting. Okay,
Great. That'd be good, like during the work session or
yeah,
something.
like I said, I can make it pretty quick, but, concise, but yeah, just make sure we. get the key
15
points.
minutes or
Yeah, 15, maybe 20.
Yeah.
I always say 15, I don't know. And hopefully lots of questions. I think that's where it's gonna be more valuable. The state training, there's, bigger groups, it's hard to ask questions, so. I just want to reiterate, I'm a resource for you guys, so definitely feel free to reach out. Go from there.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you. All right, gonna get into the land use, buyout. Laura Field concept plan. Gail, how are
Yeah,
you doing tonight?
I'll kind of
Fine, how are
start
you?
off with
Good.
a little here, really what I need from you guys is what kind of details so I can get enough information to start. Trying to hire somebody to help us get this done. We did have some money that we put in our budget for, wetland delineation, knowing that we wanted to do something with that field, so.
Yeah.
Depending on how expensive it would be to get somebody to help us put this plan together, depending on what we decide we want to do. We could use some of those dollars towards that. Some of the things we'll want to think about are, what types of events we're wanting to do in there. If we're just talking about trying to do rodeo and junior rodeo events, so if we're wanting to be able to ultimately do demo derbies, monster trucks, motocross type events, so. So that's kind of one piece of what we have going on. The other is those conditions of approval, which I think we can get that going along. They're separate projects, kind of, like even if we wanted to do something in the gravel parking lot. That wouldn't necessarily apply to all of and it does because the map's messed up, but it's not actually in the wetland or floodplain.
Yeah.
But we would still need to get that condition of the motorized racing adjusted, so we can work on that. I know there's been some changes from when Gail came and presented last time about what the county decided to go for. So you can jump on with that, and then we can kind of brainstorm about some ideas on what we want to do, and then we'll through those things. I know when I sat down and talked to you, I had all these notes. It's like, the floodplain permit, signs, stock pins, fencing, lighting, grandstands, location of materials, site plan, setbacks. There's a lot of things that we don't sort out. Elevations.
So anyway,
Sorry.
that's okay. So Kyle's given you a lot to think about there, but I'm really here tonight, and I can be here in the future to help answer questions when it comes to the planning aspects of it, permitting, things that you're going to need to go, the process that you'll go through. I wanted to start just by backtracking a bit and talk about the FEMA biological opinion and what that means for the fairgrounds and more broadly for Clatsop County in general. Is everyone familiar? Have you all heard of the BIA? Anybody? Nope.
Heard of it, but not familiar with it.
Okay, so it is a very big thing. In 2009, FEMA was sued by Portland Audubon because FEMA had not consulted with the fishery services about impacts to endangered species by allowing development in the floodplain. And FEMA runs the National Flood Insurance Program. So if you are in a floodplain and you have a mortgage, most likely you have flood insurance. And so that's a very big thing. And as a result of that, that lawsuit, FEMA settled, went through the biological opinion process with the fishery services, and the services basically came back and said that because FEMA was allowing people to develop in the floodplain, it was endangering 16 types of fish and the killer whale. And so this opinion applies to like almost the entire state. It's 31 counties, 230 plus jurisdictions are impacted by this. All of Clatsop County is in it if you're in a floodplain. And so in 2021, FEMA released a draft plan about how they were going to address these concerns about endangered species. Keep in mind, FEMA is charged with protecting people from loss in a flood and reducing the loss. So their charge is not endangered species, it's flood insurance and reducing risk. But anyway, FEMA released this plan in 2021, started going through an environmental review process, and basically told jurisdictions in the state, we won't make you do anything until we finish this process. Well, lo and behold, FEMA got sued again in 2023 by some environmental organizations who felt that FEMA was not moving fast enough to address the implementation. And so as a result of that, very unannounced in July of this year, FEMA told everyone, you have to pick one of three pathways. You either are going to prohibit all development in the floodplain completely, or you're gonna adopt a model ordinance that addresses the Endangered Species Act. Or you can tell every applicant that they have to do their own habitat assessment, figure out what endangered species they're impacting, and then figure out how to mitigate for it. And that got rolled out very quickly. It was very half-baked when they rolled it out, but they gave all the jurisdictions a December 1st deadline. So Sunday was our deadline. And this caused a lot of bother because obviously these are none of them good choices and they have a lot of impacts. Like I said, on the fairground or anybody who's got property in the floodplain. So at the advice of our land use council, who is in addition to Anthony here, we have a special one just who deals with planning issues. And at his recommendation, the board, to meet the December 1st deadline, said they would go with the model ordinance option. Knowing that the ordinance is still being changed, FEMA hasn't finished it yet, and doing that. So at this point in time, we met the December 1st deadline, so we're still compliant with FEMA. We have until July 31st of 2025 to implement it. Now, having said that, there are a lot of variables that could change this at any moment, and it's constantly changing. So changes at the federal level with the new administration could change part of this or all of it. There could be a counter lawsuit to get an injunction that could change part of this. And worst case scenario, nothing changes, and come July 31st, we will all be living under this new model ordinance to protect the endangered species. So I know that, I think it was, gosh, October when I came out.
Yeah.
And the fair board at that time was really concerned because obviously you've got plans that you want to implement, you've got events that you want to hold, you have space that you want to use. But with all this looming over the fair board, it was really this rush to try and figure out something. And so that's why Kyle and I had a meeting, and he's got all these notes that we can't decipher anymore. Just trying to cram everything we could think of into a permit so that he could get something submitted before the deadline.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at right now. The pressure is off a little bit, but again, for the next couple months, we just don't know what's going to happen. So it's still in limbo. But really, I just want to be here as a resource for you to ask questions about planning, about the floodplain. The north side of the property up here has got geologic hazards and landslide hazards. So it's not a nice flat piece of property where you can just come in and do a whole bunch of stuff. And then you have a very old conditional use approval from 1994 that had a lot of conditions of approval, over 30 of them, including the outdoor automobile races and motor vehicle races, limitations on what you can do next to the ODF property. And I think a lot of that sprung from fear of the unknown in 1994, because the fairground was new here. ODF had concerns about how the two properties were going to interact. And so we did have a pre-app meeting with them, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or so. And I think a lot of that fear is gone. But as you're working through your long-term plan, what you want to do, what activities you want to hold, if there's new construction, we want to update your CUP, so your conditional use permit, so that you can change some of these conditions around, add more activities, add a new building plan if that's what you come up with, and have you ready to go for the next 20 years. So I talked a lot, but really I'm just here to answer questions, really. Ask away.
So what would you say that we would need before that July cutoff to set us up to actually get something going down there?
So I think there's two ways to look at it. We have a couple months to wait and see what's going to change starting at the federal level and whether or not there's an injunction filed and how that plays out. If that plays out, you have a lot of breathing room at that point. If the injunction isn't successful and nothing changes at the state or federal level, then between that period, say from like February 1st to the end of July, you would want to focus on the most immediate things that you can do. So if the most immediate thing is to be able to hold outdoor rodeos down there, motor events, whatever it is that you want to do there, that would be what you'd want to focus on if we have that short time frame. And since you're not going to probably be able to start construction on anything really significant, like a new arena, enclosed
Yeah.
arena or anything, it's really having a plan together about what are the types of events? What do they need? Do they need fencing? Do they need additional parking? Do they need concession areas? Do they need portalettes? Is there going to be any lighting? Will there be an announcer booth? How are you going to handle the grandstands? Are they permanent or are they temporary? And so trying to sew up that concept and really flesh it out, you know, I would go just outdoor events and, you know, think about that. And what has to go in to support that. And then that should all come in on the flood permit. And with that, we can work on the conditional use permit. That doesn't have that time frame. It's just the flood permit.
Yeah.
But then we can start working through those conditions of approval and start getting that updated as well.
We could start the condition of,
You could start it tonight.
yeah.
I should have brought an application.
We know basically it was those three issues that we wanted to see, but what's the questions that we don't know about what we want to do yet that. You know, it's like, we could go and change the camping and the setback up here and the motorized racing. But then if we're deciding we need to do something else as well. We'd be starting back at scratch to do that change all over again. And so we did have the pre-app meeting and brought ODF in and Fish and Wildlife and DSL. And they all seemed pretty open to it, especially just during those dry weather. Sees that, you know, basically 8 weeks during the summer where
Yeah.
it's dry. Fish and Wildlife was really only concerned if there was turbidity and mud getting into the creek over there. DSL wanted to know more about what the wetlands were. That there's stuff that we can do about that, but then all the floodplains that came in afterwards. Department of Forestry, they seem to be fine with the motorized racing issue. I think they know that it's not gonna be a racetrack that's got races every weekend. We're
Yeah.
talking about doing something during the fair and maybe 1 or 2 other times a year. And then the whole 250 foot over here, they said, you know, maybe the back section up there on the hillside, they wouldn't want to remove that, but from basically the bottom of the stage down, they would reduce that, which I have the map here. You know, it would have been like all the way over to here that we couldn't have built in. So we couldn't technically have rebuilt on the footing of. Right now, we technically can't rebuild on the footing where that old house was.
Yeah.
We couldn't rebuild on the footing from this old barn. So that would basically open up this area to do something and this area to do something. But this area up here would still be off the. What their concern is that if there was a full grown tree that fell over and damaged something. I still think that's a little weird because it's on our property.
That is a little weird.
Uh,
So can you go up further? So we own all of that up there.
Yeah, so on this map that she handed you, you can see kind of where it is.
Yeah, you can see the,
There's no tax lots on this map. But I could open up a different map to get us there, but it's about here.
Yeah, right about that first curve.
yeah, so if you go down quite a bit, so stop now to the left. No, just your cursor, let go. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So what are the odds of ignoring that? I'm not saying we just throw the whole thing out, but what are the odds of ignoring this whole floodplain issue and being able to log? And I realize we have to go through the county to do all this, get permission and all that, but what are the odds of doing something up there that's going to be a lot less red tape
Okay, so on this map.
on this
the one
page?
That shows you all of the geologic hazard overlay.
There we
that's
are.
The yellow picture. You can see all of the north half of the property is in the geologic landslide zone. So the harvesting, the timber harvest would go through Forest Practices Act, and you'd be working with ODI.
Yeah.
That's not the county's problem or issue or whatever. But then once you've got an area cleared, as soon as you start digging in the dirt, for the most part, you're gonna have a geotech who's gonna put together a report. Basically to make sure that you're not gonna like cut the toe of the slope and cause a landslide, and that if you're building something, you know, that it's gonna withstand a slide or something like that.
Yeah.
So it can be done, but it will be more time and money.
Yeah.
But you may get money from a timber harvest that could help with that.
Yeah, and that just speaking out loud here, yeah, that's less of an urgency because there isn't this floodplain issue.
Yeah.
I think the reason why we have this urgency is because we're really trying to do something down there before it's too late.
You know, I mean, I definitely don't want to lose what we have down here for sure. But I mean, I don't have a whole lot of life experience, but at the same time, anytime you rush and just start firing away on things, it's never done well.
Yeah.
And it always usually causes problems,
Right.
you know, and so I definitely don't want to rush into doing something when we might have a better option up above.
I think the biggest challenge up there is gonna be access. You know, we have a tough enough time getting people into this building
Yeah,
for events and then trying to get people all the way up onto that hill for events. I'm not saying it's not doable, but I think that other concept plan showed a improvement like some parking in this area that I think was like more like ADA type parking.
Mhm.
So plugging in more ADA parking up here and then widening, I'm just totally thinking out loud, I don't know. Widening this road, I mean, you want at least a 24-foot wide road, then you have 2-lane traffic and trucks and all that. I mean, the fire department's probably gonna require a 24-foot road minimum. All the way up here.
yeah,
Since we're throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're looking at, obviously, there's an urgency to figure out what you want to do, if we're gonna do it down there. But, you know, as you stated, it's 8 weeks of use. So I would be kind of curious what the expected return on investment, if that's what we do, but if we're county stuff.
oh yeah, I mean, we're still, I mean, we're still fiscally responsible
Okay.
for the money
Okay.
that's here.
And
We
so,
build a $2 million facility and use it once a year.
right, that's what it's like.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was I know this is way out. But is there ever a concept of making more indoor space available or remodeling, expanding, I don't know, to make rodeo, but make it more doable because it's making it indoor.
Yeah, that would be a big point of revisiting the strategic plan.
Yeah.
You know, and figuring out what exactly we're talking about for the next 20 years. I did put the strategic plan in here that was done in 2009. I haven't read it in over a year myself, but there were some projects. And that was one that I know I had heard was some kind of multi-use arena, but how to pay for it was the question. We can spend some time looking at this, but yeah, I think kind of what you're in line with and what Matt was saying too, like rushing into stuff.
Yeah.
But
But there
then
could
back,
also
taking a
be
bigger
like,
look at it, what do you want to do?
yeah, thinking about that space down there, we do know that it's used for parking. Not that great, but maybe it could be as simple as we make a better parking space down there. That's more doable, I don't know. And is there another way you could reuse that parking space for events or something, I don't know.
Yeah. And right now it's down, it's underwater.
Pardon me?
So right now it's underwater.
Right. Yes,
Yeah, I think if we could do something that doesn't, there's really no permanent structures, but maybe has permanent fill. And I mean, we'd have to do some access. We'd have to do like a paved walking path and.
yeah, I mean, you'd have to have a road down there, you'd have to have fill to make sure it's up out of the So it's not standing in water all year.
And it's gotta be the proper material to have animals on it.
Yeah, and then you need to get power down there too. Like those are kind of like the,
So if we're talking about doing something like that, that's not really like putting in buildings and all of that, then.
But you
seems
have
we
like a
should be
road
able
where
to
you
do
could bring in
something, and it
temporary.
wouldn't be terribly expensive.
Yeah,
I think, let's see if we can look back in time on Google Earth. Was a photo that had shown the setup. Like how they had it for a demo derby or something in the past. I'm not sure what those. That was just warm-up rings and a fence or what, but if we're talking about doing something like digging out an arena here and getting the proper soils in there, or if it's, I don't know, this hillside, if this was mowed, this could make like a decent natural amphitheater seating type of thing. If you built something, dug out right here, we wouldn't necessarily have to put grandstands in if it's bring your blanket and sit on the hill. But then we could still do those events and use our portable bleachers or something. I
Yeah.
don't know, that's kind of where, what you guys are and how much effort we want to put into it.
So my thought process, to be honest, is more so that temporary fencing piece of it, because like we're talking about, there's 8 weeks that we can really use it. And what we're looking at, or what I would think we'd want to look at, is having, something similar to this maybe once out there. And then potentially hosting some sort of like junior rodeo. And then,
Demo derby during the fair.
I was gonna say, yeah, and the demo derby and stuff, you're not going to necessarily want an arena up for that. And so you do want it more so temporary per se, so that you can remove it
Yeah.
and have it open for that piece. So for the arena piece, do I think we need a $2 million building? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't even think, to be honest, we need to run power down there. I think the generators that we have used in the past when we had a rodeo down there would be sufficient. Especially because we're so much daylight for so long in those 8 weeks that we can use it, that we really don't necessarily need the light power. We do need the announcer area to be able to have power and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't think we would need to run full power. I don't think that we would need anything crazy. I think having the arena and having a portable setup for the panels, and then being able to haul down some bleachers down there, and then have a couple food trucks to be able to pull in and do a concession type thing like that would be sufficient. I mean,
And some kind of all weather path
yeah,
that gets people down here.
and you gotta think, like, if you were to have this rodeo down there, I mean, they're hauling stuff on semis,
Yeah.
cattle and stuff on semis, so you're gonna have to
You
make,
have a
There's
path.
new light here.
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna have to make a bigger approach.
yeah.
So we're talking about a road, maybe a path, and fill.
Yeah.
Is
And I think the fill is kind of, prior to the buyout concern, that was the concern with the wetland permitting was, okay, what kind of material do we need to bring in there for it? And we were talking about doing it as temporary stuff for each event. But if doing it more permanent to where we don't have to clean it up all year, I think. I don't know what the difference in cost would be for us, but it seems like it would be less for us to do it right once and then not have to take it in and out.
If there are no wetlands there, probably.
Yeah.
If
It's
there,
hydric soils on the map.
if there are identified wetlands and you fill them, you're gonna have mitigation,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
Mitigation will be expensive.
That's some of the conversation too, that we can use some of this area. And that's where we had put money for wetland, use some of this area to turn it into a higher value wetlands, maybe.
So turning that into higher value wetland allows us to use other wetlands, is that the idea?
Potentially, yeah.
It's really gonna be Department of State lands. The county is not involved in that at all. Okay, so.
And there's a lot of uncertainty. That's something that we need an expert to help us with.
Can I just ask a few questions since you are here? So first, you were wanting by July 31st, not you, state, was wanting an agenda of what we plan on doing down there, like a plan, right? Or did they need us to start building whatever it was? Is that when construction needs to start or just a plan?
No, neither. So what will happen on July 31st, if everything stays the way it is right now, is the county will have adopted an ordinance that will require mitigation for any development in the floodplain. So you're gonna have to mitigate, this is in addition to wetlands. So you're gonna have wetland mitigation and you're gonna have floodplain mitigation.
Oh,
So that's if everything stays the same. If we don't see that anything is changing and it looks like we're gonna be stuck with our July 31st date, then I think you as the Fair Board do want to get a permit in for something, if you're gonna do something in this floodplain lower area.
just get a permit in.
Yeah.
Construction got to be complete, just a permit in.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, and then, never mind. With the plan, that answered both questions.
But I mean, thinking about your time frame, thinking about those 8 weeks that you've got, you would probably want to be getting a permit in pretty soon. Because if you want to hold events in July and August and June, then you want to get your permit in, January, February, March. So that you have some time.
Okay, and then this might be a question more for Kyle. So on this acreage that the fair has control of down here, Fair Board, all of it, this whole side of the road. Obviously, I've been down in the parking area where 4-H parking would be.
Here,
No, the lower, and that's wet, yes, but below that is way more wet. I don't know anything about that top right corner where they, that one. How wet is that like right now?
it's a little wet, but it seems like it's more like the footprint where they had held events in the past. Like, it's kind of depressed because they did something there in the past. This is definitely slightly higher than this.
Okay,
Down to like, maybe like here-ish.
Yeah, you can
That's
see on their hydraulic soils map here that there's actually a little loop in there that's not part of that, because it's a little higher.
So do we have to get a permit for below or up top?
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
You don't need a floodplain permit up top. You need a geologic hazard permit.
because
up
it's on
top.
a hill, yeah.
So by July, we have to have, we should
If
have a
we're going-
permit for that whole section, not just the top.
The
We're-
top, you don't have to worry about and move quickly.
Yeah, nothing's changing for
Yeah.
that. We're only talking about this lower section.
So we're only trying to keep that alive for future
Yeah,
things.
Yeah.
And there are some options with the lower piece. Kyle talked about getting the wetlands delineated, which would help a lot because once DSL, Department of State Lands, approves that, it's good for 5 years. You can renew it for another 5 years. And that clearly shows DSL where they think the wetlands are and where you can put your activities. And it keeps you out of trouble and you don't have to mitigate. You can also work with an engineer to do what's called a letter of map amendment. And for the parking lot, and maybe that top right corner, you may be able to show FEMA that it shouldn't be in the floodplain. And if you can do that, then all the floodplain stuff in that area goes away.
Permanent, not 5
Yeah,
years.
this is one of the
Permanent.
things that I know that I've heard Mark or Commissioner Wheeler mention, like, this is behind a levee, but they're treating it as if there's no levee. When really, if it was a certified levee, it would be, I could be completely wrong, but it has a little bit different of a, what do you call it?
classification.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are two options worth exploring if there's interest and there's time and money to work with consultants, because it may solve a lot of issues for you in the long run.
Yeah.
What was following that same theory in my mind, like this road's damn near levee,
Yeah.
this area up here should definitely not be in the floodplain.
Put a tide gate in.
Yeah.
But those are what people are contesting with this whole thing in the first
Yeah.
place. A lot.
What was that first thing you said? Not the letter of amendment, but the thing before that?
A wetland delineation.
And who do we contact for that?
DSL, right?
They won't do it. They review it and approve
Oh,
it.
okay.
So,
We could talk with Terry Hendricks about who they
Yeah.
use. for
That
it,
sounds like
and
the
I know-
simplest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
And
starting
I
point
have
right
some
there.
contacts from my work in public works that I know people that have done a lot of wetland permits. I think there's certain consultants that would be better for what we're trying to do. So we're trying to make sure we're getting the one that we want. It's gonna help us with the.
And who would
Get
we
the
talk
answer.
to about the letter of map amendment?
just an engineer or a surveyor should be able to do that. And I would expect the map amendment to take about 6 months. I don't know what the costs are. Wetland delineation is probably at least 6 months.
When you were here in October, I thought you had said that they weren't accepting.
They are not accepting letters of map amendment based on fill. So at this point, the property may have been filled, but this is not new fill being brought in to raise the
This
property.
was done in 1995
Yeah.
or earlier, like we're talking about this area.
What year is that photo? Can you tell on the? It should
If I
be
bring
on-
it back onto this screen, I can tell, that was 2014.
Okay,
So does
We can go back further.
does the fair need the land? The bottom of the parking lot towards the river, for any kind of use, we're
This
just talking,
area?
yeah,
Not particularly, no.
so. the
This
idea of
area
doing
here
the
is
rodeo,
the
Using
airport,
that top,
sorry.
if we can just save that, that's our. Get it. So we can do stuff with it,
Yeah, Yeah.
Whatever the permitting will be,
Well, here, this is in the
But you're in the
master
rodeo.
plan that I,
bring moms, dads,
It was done-
parents, uncles.
2008. And this was some suggestions that they had, a concept for mitigation. It says create partnership opportunities, restore saltwater estuary. So this whole area here. A concept was to restore this to a saltwater estuary habitat, which would definitely be a higher value wetland. I don't know what the formulas are, but it's in the same drainage.
Salt water?
Well,
This
this
is
is all,
not salt water.
this all here is all.
it's all salty in September
Sure, okay, yeah,
when there's no fresh water coming down the river.
yeah.
Let me see if I can, and this is in the binder that I gave you, Say consider partnership, that was over here, this guy, whatever this guy might wanna do, I mean, we could potentially pay them for. For mitigating what.
Yeah.
James?
Yeah, James.
But this area here, this area here, and this area here was a concept of converting to upland use, which is essentially what we're talking about right now. And then this was create additional wetland, so regular wetland. Saltwater estuarian. Upland.
In the hierarchy of what's valuable to this Oregon state lands, DSL, what's the highest out of those three you just mentioned?
Problem, I don't know for
That
sure.
saltwater estuary, it's like what they did in the, on Lanahan's Corner.
Oh,
Burst in the dams, like excavating, like
Oh.
making it back to more natural estuary rather than just blocking it off and leaving it alone.
okay.
There may be some other clues, because there was a point in time when the county was looking at that. For credits for the North Coast Business Park, so they may have done some. Initial calculations on what that might be. We might be able to pull some of that out of there.
we need to have Terry, talk about wetlands. He knows it in and out.
It sounded like no matter what we do, what choices you're gonna do, if you're gonna do anything, you need to get a consultant to do the wetland delineation,
Yeah.
right? That's like a given.
Yeah, I think so. I think it probably just. Trying to find somebody that can help us with the floodplain permit and that wetland piece as kind of a package deal.
Oh,
If somebody even does both of those, I don't know. That would be the hope, because
well,
you're not gonna be able to plan the fair and do everything else and figure that out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just how you mentioned surveyors, I know I used to have land out in Jewel and getting a flood. Someone that could do your surveying and from a flood.
Yeah, you're actually very familiar with the flood issues.
Sold that.
I know.
So if we did turn that parking area for the fair into whatever the red polka dot was, the upland game bird hunting or whatever it was. Could we still use it for parking during the fair?
You're saying this area down here?
No, the park,
Oh,
yeah.
for upland use?
Yeah.
Upland use would be basically outright use anytime. If it was converted, it would be.
Oh, I see what
regular
you're saying.
ground.
Okay, I got you. I see.
Yeah, we
upland.
really don't use, whereas Cursor is right now, we pretty much don't use that at all for the fair, except for some livestock trailer parking, and the monster truck guy goes out there and runs his truck around a little bit. But it's pretty much unused right now.
You know, this whole field down here is still being used as an agricultural use.
Yeah.
We're having it mowed and.
Yeah.
And it's harvesting grass, so there are some exemptions on this because it is an agricultural use, and yes, we're parking on it during the fair for a week. But the rest of the year, we're able to do some stuff in there that doesn't necessarily need permitting because it's agricultural, use, like drainage work and mowing and tilling and all of that. But once you're talking about holding events and
Yeah,
getting
that's where things start
permits,
changing.
that's where we take it out of that. And they could potentially come back and say that it's not an agricultural use as well. Somebody wanted to make an issue out of it.
So in the interest of time, can we figure out what we're gonna do, like next steps? And then I'm sure we'll talk about it again in our next meeting.
Yes, so I think what I know is we need to do an application for a conditional use permit. Like, we need to get that going, ASAP, sounds like. We need to get a consultant. Reach out to some consultants and see the ballpark pricing on doing some wetland delineation, and if they can, help us with this floodplain permit. What did I have on here? I thought I had to, it's letter of map amendment, wetland delineation. And your CUP. I think those are kind of the action items.
So like for the next meeting, then you would have those estimates. That's what decision we made if we're gonna move forward with consultant engineer potentially.
Yeah, I can work on trying to get RFP. Trying to hire a consultant. And do my best to try to get them on board with the holiday. I don't know, so I can get them to respond, but I can give it a shot and see.
And
Said
you're
I have-
required to do an RFP for.
Should do some kind of solicitation process. I might chat with Anthony a little bit on that, depending on how much it costs. I think there are some exceptions if it's under certain dollar amounts for professional services. Yes. So we'll have to ask a couple of questions.
Or if there's not a lot of options.
So if all this maneuvering gets us right where the hand is, gets us to use that area permanently, is that kind of what we're trying to do?
Yeah, that's really what the goal here is, to be able to,
So however the maneuverings have to happen.
have to evolve to get us to
That's what
have
it's
that without
concentration.
losing it here. That's good.
I think
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I know right now, I'm like, what exactly, are we building something this way or something this way? I think what's most important now is, can we do anything in this area?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing right
And then
now.
we'll
is-
try to do the cheapest thing we can.
Yeah.
that we can use year in and year out. But yeah, to your point, Bruce, what we're trying to do is get something so that once that July 1st or whatever the date ends up
We're
being.
grandfathered in.
Grandfather did.
Okay, yeah. I think I get it.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, I know I have to bring the camera here, but Courtney is on the call. I don't know, do you have anything you want to add,
The
Courtney?
problem that we have up here, Bruce, is that we have a very limited amount of flat ground to
Correct.
use, right? And we're kind of maxed out up here without doing major excavation and major changing.
Or back there, gotcha.
Yeah, and down there is where we have the most readily
And
available
that
land.
seems the most logical.
Yeah.
And the least expensive.
Yep.
And at minimum, a piece of property we can use the 8 weeks of the fair for junior rodeos is just as an example, but. If we can shuffle the cards and.
Yeah.
Make that permanent.
Yeah, I know, like, we'd love to do demo derby, we'd love to do the junior rodeo, we'd love to do bulls and broncs, or even a full rodeo. I mean, we can't really do a full rodeo here, so.
And
There's also a local interest in doing like mud drags and drag races out there. It could be motocross or quad races, those types of things. There's
Yeah.
opportunity for a lot of events that if we were allowed to, legally do it, there's people that would probably rent it and put the events on themselves.
and that would leave a door open for carnival if we, I know
That's a C word.
I know. I know, but it just leaves that door.
So I did print off some maps, 11 by 17, if you guys wanted to sketch something on these, on what you might have for some ideas, the Sharpie works best to draw on them. I can have an idea of some of the stuff we're talking about, but I think I know which direction we need to go from now and the next year.
So bring these back. I'll leave them with you now.
Either way.
Yeah.
So I had an idea of what you guys want.
So we're looking at about 5 minutes here, Kyle. Thank you guys so much for coming.
No, you're welcome. And
And
I
talking
gave
to us.
everyone my card. You're,
Thank you.
you are always free to reach out to any staff at the county. So you don't have to worry about any conflicts of interest in ex parte communications, which Anthony will tell you about. But please, if you have questions, feel free to just call me or email me and I'm happy to talk with you. So,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Gail.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
So the next one is the roof. So a little background for the rest of you all. We received a $277,000 grant from the legislature. They passed the bill a couple years back that basically gave this much money to every fairgrounds in the state. We all split the pot evenly and our cut was $275,000. Has to be used on the capital project. We talked a lot about what we were gonna do. Said the roof's leaking, let's fix the roof. And so instead of we can't really just say roofer come out and tell us what you need to fix it and give us a quote. So we hired this consultant to do a condition assessment on the roof and make the big documents and then we'll use what they finish with to actually bid out the project. And the repairs there. So they provided this draft proposal or draft scope of repair. I have not finished reading it all yet myself. I was trying to knock it out. But what I really wanted to do was get it in front of you all as early as possible. That way, once it is ready, you're quicker to, you're in a better, quicker spot to make decisions on if you want to move forward with what they have to offer. What I understand right now, they're asking for our comments on this. And then they will work with some contractors that they know to come up with some price estimates. So when we have these alternatives, we can say, option 1 costs X dollars, option 2 costs X dollars, and make the decision which way we want to go with the third. With the main priority being that room over there as the most urgent, the expo hall, and then in here, if we can do some spot repairs and stuff to get it so that it's not leaking anymore. But there's not gonna be the same amount of capital to do an extensive repair here at this point. But through this process, we should at least know what we'll have to do to fix this in the long run. So that's where we're at. And I have only read part of it myself. I need to finish it. I was hoping I would get it done.
Yeah.
So this is the statement of what's needed.
Yeah, this would be a scope of work for the actual repairs. For the condition assessment thing. So, I mean, at this point, I guess, in the interest of time, if you guys wanted to read it and send me a message and provide any comments on it, and I can send it back to you. There's really no action on it, it's more just getting it in front of you.
Yeah, thank you.
I had some, I can send, I printed out.
Yeah.
Background.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything you want to share.
Well, there was some areas there that I thought it was a little light, but specifically for this group, as I look at it, it calls out that, the fair, for instance, in number 1, under communication, the OSU will designate a member.
So that's the next item.
I'm sorry, I thought that your. I put in here.
Sorry,
Sorry,
but we're talking about the roof still.
oh, I was on the roof, I'm good with it. I'll bring it up when I next. Sorry, I saw it. Paper up.
So, yeah, if you want to move on to the OSU. MOU.
What is it?
That's what I saw.
Yeah. MOU, memorandum of understanding.
Oh, okay. My bad.
It's so this has been a long standing, moving on, unless anybody has anything else on the roof.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
We've gone around and around on this one with a lot of back and forth with the board and OSU, the local OSU office. I brought a draft to the board a couple of months ago and said, good, let's move forward. So at that point, the local OSU coordinator sent it to their state contract person to review, and the state person at OSU sent back a list of about 10 comments and questions. So now there are draft the revisions based off of the comments that they provided, which basically were some of the comments we had in the first place, but if you want to go through any of them, I think it said there's about 10 of them. Was there something, a specific one that you wanted?
Yeah,
to-
well, like on under communications, it's both, so the number one where it says they'll designate representative to communicate with the fair board and fairground manager. First question is, I'm not clear on what communications would come to the board versus the manager, and they may not know either. That might be something that you document somewhere else potentially, but I didn't really get clarification on the roles and responsibilities on that.
Yeah, so I mean, in practice, everything is ultimately the fair board's decision, but I'll be the point of contact that will communicate with them, and then I'll sort of you guys. Or if it comes to the point where they need to present, then they'll come to a meeting and meet with you all. They won't meet with you all individually outside of a public meeting or any official type of communication. Now that being said, maybe like as a volunteer, in your hat as a volunteer, as actually putting the fair on, there could be some communication. But the point of this section is to make sure that, you know, that we know that the right people from OSU are talking to the right people from the fairgrounds, and it's not just, you know, every different club is here
Yeah,
I
think that's the point right there, Kyle, is that we don't have just any employee from OSU Extension coming to us expressing the needs or changing things, that there's one person that we're dealing with at all times, and we're not dealing with 5 different people giving us 5 different points on the
Right.
same thing. I think that's what that's just
And
trying
hopefully they
to.
go to Kyle.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Or they come-
yeah, I mean, they'll either communicate to Kyle or they come to a fair board meeting and express their concerns, but it's
Yeah.
gonna be that one person that's designated.
Right. I just want to make sure that that's what it's, that if it's clear to them. Based on what is written here.
Yeah, that was a specific item we discussed. Because that does happen during the fair. There'll be different superintendents that want to come over and tell me something different than what was already told
Yeah.
by their official point of contact, and so making it clear. They had some comments. What's their comments? Risk management, incident reporting, so we added in. And we haven't gotten their responses back yet. I just wanted to get this to you guys because the timeline is so tough when we only meet once a month.
Yeah.
And Sandra's retiring at the end of the month, and she's urgently trying to get it approved.
So under the liability insurance reference, it doesn't really specify. How much?
Yeah, that is noted later on in the agreement,
Okay.
under the general terms. There's a section that says under. I did read it. I said, well, it's already later in there, but if you want to put it in there twice, fine.
So number 8.
It says, basically, I think it says at the 4th level. Yeah. It's just worded like that, so that way when that amount changes, we don't have to update this every time, because it does change from time to time.
And you guys just have a mutual trust where they don't have to prove that they have it.
They provide us the certificate every year.
You would normally document that.
We have it on file. I can add it right in there that. When do they renew it and send us in? If it's the first of the fiscal year or?
On renewal, usually. And then I was kind of curious, like, how do they handle it when, there's other events going on?
As far as like during the fair, when everything's
Right.
happening across.
Yeah, or if
Yeah.
there's like, or it's not even like commingled event, like they're having an event and then there's 4-H event.
That has been an issue that we've talked around several times, because like there's a lot of overlap between like the auction community and all the clubs and all this. So basically, they've said, as long as it's a 4-H volunteer and they're doing something as
Okay.
part of a project that is the kids doing the 4-H project, they're covered under
Okay.
the OSU insurance. The part that's tricky though is like family groups and sometimes that's the part that we can do right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Are we named as, official insured on this policy?
We are, yes. I can send you guys a copy of that if you'd like to see what it looks like.
And then this is just more of a, probably an order thing, but under financial matters, you probably, it's. You only see it references more, but, option, so it says, OSU shall not be charged fees for unless A, B, and C, which is correct, those are not gonna be charged, as you guys decided. But D says additional charges. It seems like it doesn't belong under one. Does that make sense?
No, so anyways,
And so this B comment was a response to their comment. What was her specific? So the utilities, portable restrooms, are there charges that would be outside the fee waiver that OSU might be responsible for? So that's what we were trying to address there. Like the stuff that's on the fee waiver are the things that we already own and are related with those events on that schedule. But if there's separate stuff that OSU needs, that we're not going to be paying for.
Yep,
like,
no, it makes sense,
additional-
I just don't think it belongs under one, where the header says you're not gonna be charged a fee.
Okay, so
And
you
then
think there should be a
It
two
should be like 2 and then 2 comes 3 or something
Right.
like that.
or yeah, okay.
It's kind of, it was like, wait, now it's,
E-waiver is subject to change. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it'd be fine under 2. I don't think we need to make a separate line though. But I agree with it, it belong under 1 for sure.
Makes sense. A question about lost and found. We had removed it, but we threw it back in there and just made a note about it. It's during the fair, there's so much more lost and found, and it's just 4-H. Locking access, locking and unlocking, providing access to restrooms. Just tried to hit on their comments so we could get this thing moved along.
Yeah.
On-site coordinator, it did not list anywhere on there that during their events that they would have somebody from OSU on the premises, so. We put a comment on there. Yeah, and these were comments they brought up, which were all really good stuff. Third party, this was probably the main issue that this MOU has been on hold basically since I started, was talking about issues with, third parties. So when.
Where we at, Kyle?
What's that?
Where we at?
On E4.
Okay.
Basically it's saying, if there's something from the OSU use that, damages or something that needs to be rectified, and there needs to be an invoice for it. And there was talk about, or their affiliates. So this was the tricky part where they were trying to loop in the clubhouse and the chicken coop and basically the association, which is an entirely separate organization, entirely separate nonprofit. So the concern that the OSU would be liable for something that the association did. And this was something, when we came on, they were trying to loop in all of these other MOUs into one agreement for the clubhouse and chicken coop. So we were making basically like a 3 or a 4-way agreement between OSU, the association, the master gardeners. So what we've done is tried to strip this down so that our agreement is essentially just between OSU and the fairgrounds, and that the other agreements with the association are their own separate MOU that we have. So the way that we understand it right now, that this agreement really covers OSU extension, covers any of the 4-H clubs, and it covers the Master Gardener program through extension, not the Master Gardeners Association and not the 4-H Association. We don't have an agreement with the Master Gardeners Association at all. We do have an agreement with the 4-H Association. But it's like another 10 years before it expires. The other part of our agreement with them is not valid anymore because we gave the building back to them. So we don't have that MOU for the building across the street anymore. We just have an MOU for the chicken coop. We do need to get one though with the Master Gardeners Association. It talks about their use of the demonstration garden that's not part of the OSU extension piece or their events that they're doing. Yeah, their concern was that they were going to be responsible for these other parties, which was our concern also. This section G, I still don't know what they mean by this, so that's one of the questions we need back from them. And then I think the last real outstanding question that we don't know is who signs this thing? Does the fair board chair sign it? Does the county manager sign it? And then the board of commissions on behalf of 4-H extension. So the county board is actually the governing body for the extension taxing district. But it sounds like OSU believes that the county board needs to sign it on behalf of the extension district, which that will really be up to them. From what I understand, it'll be up to Wiley to take this before that board to get it authorized for that, and then we'll sign it for the fair board, and we can have the county manager sign it, we'll just say everybody's on, all of our bases are covered that way. But this whole board of county commissioners one's a little tricky because it's like we're making an agreement with ourselves.
Yeah. Sure.
That's probably the most confusing part of this whole thing is still remaining. This has been a lot of progress, as we're seeing. The day I started, this is sitting here waiting, and it was really that third party issue that was the main thing that was holding us up. And I think we're there. We'll see what their contract person comes back with in these plans.
Okay. We are going to wrap up our work session and roll right into our regular meeting. Okay, so call to order. Do roll call, everybody who's here and present. Gonna have to approve the agenda, so if all the board members would look over the agenda really quick. If you guys have any changes that need to be made, now is the time we would do that, and if not, we need a motion to approve and a second. Okay. Approved, second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Move on to public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? All right, how about you, buddy? You got anything to say? No? All right, good call. All right, so we're gonna roll right into consent calendar. We need to get a few things approved. Where'd that go? Here it is.
That's just everything on this calendar.
Sorry, I was trying to see if anybody on online had a comment. What was your question?
The consent calendar.
Oh, there's nothing on the consent calendar. The only thing that we would have had would be the minutes from the last meeting, and with the short turnaround, we weren't able to get those.
Okay.
completed yet.
Okay, that's fine. So moving right on, board member reports. Joel, we'll start with you. If you guys have anything that you're working on that you'd like to report to, the board, or Kyle or Kristen at this time. Now's the time that you do that.
You did talk with Wallace and
Yeah, I talked with Wallace, but we were gonna talk to a plumber, but he has agreed to do it, sponsorship or something like that.
Only doesn't get a side by side. Nothing, Reese? All right,
Working on that, barrel race event of some sort, depending on what that looks like. Hopefully we can make it happen at the end of December. Possibly beginning of January, and then still kind of looking into that washer dryer opportunity for here, so.
okay. I don't have a lot to report. Where are we at with the washer and dryer situation?
So I had called JP Plumbing. We have a phone call with them. I left a message with their receptionist, said, we want to have someone come out and look at this so we know can put it wherever we want to get it put. And that's
Yeah.
the big question. I think that's probably the more limiting thing than the electrical.
Yeah.
He said he'd pass the message on to Jim Forrester and all that.
Okay.
Just think with the holidays.
Yeah, I know everything slows down from
So
Thanksgiving through the new year, so.
we're trying to figure out, we looked a little in the maintenance area on the woodwork. It's really gonna be up to the plumber to let us know if that will work or not. I think our backup plan is always to put it in the house in the garage. I think that would be really simple to do, but
Simplest to
can get it-
install, worst to use.
yeah, if we can get it up here, we'd like to do that.
Yeah.
But if it's like cutting concrete out, I don't know if it's worth, I don't know. So we'll ask the plumber what he thinks as far as what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
The washing machine is the hard part. The dryer could go. One close. We're working on it.
Big copy of that. I would like to just report to the board, just so, there's full disclosure here. I will be stepping off of the board. I believe in March. And February, March is gonna be my final month that I'll be on the board. Nothing personal, nothing against anybody or anything. It's just, I got too many irons in the fire and not taking care of my home as well as I need to, so. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that and, that I won't be accepting a chair or vice chair position this year come January. So, but we'll officially announce that to everybody.
So you're good through the February meeting, but you won't.
I'll be here to the March meeting. March will be my last meeting.
But you're still gonna be on committees. right?
Oh, yeah, no, I'll still help out when I can. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I just need to have a little less commitment. So.
Okay.
Got anything there, sir? Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing to report.
All right, Mary.
Nothing to report.
All right. Okay, managers report, Kyle, take
Yeah.
it away.
A couple of things. I received a letter today from the Oregon Equestrian Trails Group and Clatsop County 4-H Project Superintendent from Lisa Clapp. And she's requesting that we make some year-round improvement to the round pen. She'd like us to excavate it out and put a solid base, add a better footing, and basically make an all-weather year-round round pen instead of. So. You know, I don't know what that would cost or if that's what we would want to do with the forward, but we've received a request for that. Say it came in today, it's still haven't fully digested.
So they want a round pen that's usable, set up and usable all year round.
Yeah, so it says, as a host of public rides, you know, observe the consistent need of an area to launch horses. Number of young and inexperienced horses that come to the rides require groundwork before they can be ridden for the day. Young riders often need a smaller control area. So I think the pen is fine, but the footing, just summarizing here, the footing could be improved.
Is the pen set up all year?
It is not, we only set it up during the
Fair.
fair.
And it's just in grass, right? I'm trying to think where it's at.
It's
It's
behind
sand.
it's behind the barns. The three barns.
Oh, okay.
And we basically rototill it up, it's just native soil that's
Okay.
tilled for them to be able to get their horses out of the stall during the fair. That's what I thought. From my understanding, they weren't even really using it. It didn't even get used during the fair.
I never used it.
It just depends on the kid and the horse.
Yeah.
But,
And if other facilities are being used, right?
Yeah.
It's wide open.
yeah, there's, so for fair, they aren't supposed to be out there, I guess, from certain times lunging, and so it gives them an opportunity to lunge in the back, from my understanding. On the piece of it, for what I'm assuming, and again, I'm assuming what she's referring to is, yes, they have the outdoor arena, but if they maybe are having difficulties with their animal, around pen is going to give them the opportunity to be in closer proximity and not have it take off.
Yeah. I can scan this and send it to you. That's well.
Is that a problem?
Hmm?
I'm not a horse guy, so.
I mean, I think, I don't think it's realistic
Yeah.
that you can have a round pen year round be usable. So that's
Especially in our climate.
my thoughts. I mean, you can definitely get maybe pea gravel or something. But you're not gonna want to extensively lunge a horse on pea gravel. It'll give them the opportunity to get them out there and move their feet, but. And yeah, I mean, it's just not, unfortunately, a thing. So, I mean, if they wanted something set up in there, they could maybe put a round pen in the outdoor arena, because. The outdoor arena is really not big enough to do much anything else anyways, but I mean, I don't think that's necessary either, because you're gonna take up other working space, but. Yeah, I don't know, we can discuss that later.
We can talk about it, I think, through our, I don't know what this is gonna cost. I don't know.
My question is, how often would it be used?
Yeah.
And what's the cost?
Yeah,
And if it's only gonna be used for 4 days for the fair, 5 days of the fair. It's unfair for them to ask us to do something
Yeah.
for that and put up the money into it for develop around pen. Year round.
Yeah.
And maintain it.
Yeah, so my humble opinion on that is that seems like a really great fundraising opportunity for that. That group of people,
That's a great idea.
and if they would like to raise the funds for the footing and the panels. And
Maintenance.
and maybe get a volunteer certified to maintain it. Whether it be using our tractor or whatever, I know we can get certified volunteers to use our equipment. If the right steps are taken.
yeah.
That seems like a great opportunity for somebody to do a little community service and raise some funds and being more involved.
Yeah.
But I'm not interested in doing anything
Spending
permanent.
20 grand on it.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
I mean, I don't think it would be that expensive, but I also don't think that it's maybe necessary.
Priority.
and the fact that we are opening this place up for open rides multiple times a week now, right?
Yeah, well, we haven't officially begun it,
Well,
but
yeah,
they will start
coming
doing
season.
Tuesdays and Sundays, starting the first of the year.
Yeah.
We just really need to,
My question would be, and I don't know, is it our rule that they can't lunge in here when other people are riding? Or is it their rule?
we don't really have any.
I didn't think so. So that's, okay, so that's like that, okay.
I do have a question. That'd be great if it was a fundraising opportunity, but if it was determined that we might do this work, is it something that goes on a strategic plan first before you and compare it to the other items, or do you do it as one-offs in a discussion to see if that happens? I'm just trying from a logistics perspective.
I would say we do it, something small like this is a one-off
Okay.
situation, you know, we can't make a plan for every foreseeable thing and then not deviate from that. I guess you can, but it kind of really takes away any flexibility that you have as a board throughout the year.
When you do your strategic planning, do you set aside a certain amount of discretionary?
Yeah, when we do the budget, we have our foreseeable projects that we're going to do that we'd
Yeah.
like to do, and we set them out, we set a designated amount for those things.
Ideally, we would establish a 5-year plan. We've
Yeah.
kind of had like a 2-year plan in the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious of how, I think we started diving into trying to solve it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, did we first say, are we even gonna be able to spend any of the money, but then we say, how does it compare to other things? That's why I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
These manuals, I have put together a binder for each of you that has the table of contents on it shows what I was able to put together so far. There's about eight documents. While we were sitting here, I thought of another one, which is those conditions of approval that I'll get you a copy of. I just keep adding to these for you all. I know there's a lot of information here to read, but it's also, I think, something that'll be useful for you guys to have. So the first is the MOU between the county and the Fair Board. The next is the ORS 565, the Fair Board Charter, a copy of that citizen advisory manual, and then with that, I also had like a cheat sheet for Robert's rules, which can be helpful. It's a lot of times I'm like, oh, what's the right way? There's a little cheat sheet there. The background information on the operating levy from 2020, I put in there in the section. A copy of the 2009 strategic plan, and then the last is all of the facility rental documents. So it's our fee schedule, a blank copy of our contract that has all of our terms and conditions in there. There's some check-in and check-out information. Basically, these are the things that you guys are responsible for providing oversight on, and then it's our job to enact it. And so I think having copies of for you guys that quick access and good to go. And if you want to have set any time to talk about any of these individual, I can go with you. Ideally, we'll be updating these over the next periods of time here. There's definitely some work that can be done to our facility rental agreement and our fee schedule to bring it up to current times. The charter is pretty light. I think it still refers to a 5-member board, but it refers to some conferences and meetings that don't even happen. Yeah, there's a lot. This is just a starting point of getting you guys a library of information that you all. I've had some conversations with Gamhill, mostly started off because I wanted to talk to him about some circus events and how they're dealing with those particular groups like that Magic Circus. He gave me some insight on their open ride and their high school teams. He said they charge each high school team $75 per hour to ride in the arena, but they also have dozen different high school teams that are coming in and all vying for time in the arena. Says they drive their arena twice a day, no matter what, if they have that much use. Because if anybody wants an arena drag on top of that, what they're already doing, it's $100 per drag. So I thought that was based off of the conversation we had before, there was some talk about what happens at Gamhill or he said their open rides, they did do a season pass, but they went away from it. Said the season pass was just too hard to track. They just went to a flat $5 per person per time. They don't have to worry about people having their badge or leaving their badge or putting their badge on. So that was some good insight. His ask though was, we've partnered with them before on acts for our concert. He has asked if we would be opposed to letting them book Rodney Atkins on Wednesday night. And so I've had a conversation with Eric about it. And I said I would bring it to you guys and pick your brain on what you thought. Says he doesn't think that we're necessarily competing with them. But there are definitely considerations about where they market. The show that they do is on a Wednesday versus a Friday. it's included with their fare admission. So if somebody really wants to go see Rodney, you know, they're probably gonna go there or not, but at the same time, are they really pulling people out of the market that we're at? Their Friday night is Digital Underground and Tone Load, so it's a rap night on Friday night. I'm not sure necessarily how I just feel about it necessarily, you know, myself on if it will hurt us or not. But again, I know there's a history of it, and we've done it a few times, I think, with Old Dominion maybe, or Diamond Rio, or you know, with Sawyer Brown also. So I definitely wasn't gonna say yes or no one way or the other without talking to you.
Yeah. I would say it certainly isn't going to help us.
Right?
I mean, if we're charging for the show, if there's just included with the admission.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people that wouldn't go to that instead of coming here,
Right.
you know, just personally. I mean, if I wasn't strapped here with my kids and my family, if I wasn't invested in this thing.
Yeah.
I kind of know where I'm going, you know, I mean,
Well,
I hate to
people
say
do
that.
come from other counties.
Yeah.
Right.
Area.
Barely an hour
Yeah.
away.
They
Barely
will
an
have,
hour away.
they're gonna have a concert no matter what that night also. There's that to consider as well.
And how would people talk about Clatsop County Fair if we charge for what they gave for free?
They do have a VIP section, I think maybe like 200 people, they pay more for, but their concert series is free. They also have 60,000 people that go to the fair.
Yeah, it's a busy fair.
Then the answer is nuts.
I mean, are they asking our permission or are they just wondering how we're gonna feel about it?
Well, I'm certain that, I'd have to read the proposal or the contract again. There's probably says that within 100 miles, and I don't know if they're within that 100 miles or not. But they can't be.
Close.
Oh, it's gotta be.
Yeah, it's gotta be
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
So many days.
So,
Yeah.
so our contract does say 100 miles.
I don't know what it says exactly, I'll have to look it up.
63 miles.
But there
Yeah,
usually is a
I'd say that's-
radius.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the
it's not
agreement.
driving either. That's as a crow flies.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Last year, we were really trying to get Chase Rice and the Grand Ron Casino wouldn't really stem to us. That was a big issue. We're familiar with it, with the issue.
Maybe we wanna keep good morale and community between other fair boards too, and other fair managers and stuff, you know, we don't just.
Well, if it meant a discount or something for us, but at
Yeah,
this
right.
point, we're already good, you know?
Was that just off of their, like them thinking that they wanted him, or was that Eric emailing and being like, oh, well, this is kind of where he's
Eric's
at?
not
How
involved
did
at
that?
all with that. They do
Okay.
all their own booking.
Okay,
And I was just, he had asked me early on who we were doing. Every year he's asked if we want to partner to try to build some routing.
mhm.
So what if they book him and we're able to offer, like renegotiate our contract with them because of that?
Yeah.
And we're able to offer a free concert.
Yeah,
What about that? I mean, I don't know, I have
'Cause-
no idea how that end of things works, but if we're able, if we say, hey, we'll
we'll allow it.
we'll allow you guys to have that concert. If we can renegotiate our contract with Rodney Atkins to lower our cost low enough to,
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a possibility. But man, my heart is to get to the point eventually where our
Yeah.
concerts are free, just with I know we're not there now.
Yeah.
But
That
this
might
might
be
be
an
an opportunity to get there.
How much is the
Agreed.
general admission to that concert right now? Do we know?
We set
Like
it
last year was,
25?
yeah, no, it wasn't that much. Huh?
Last year we did 25.
Yeah, last year we did 25. That was for the early bird.
Yeah.
It was 29 at the gate or something
Yeah.
like that,
And then the reserve was for
like $50 or something like that.
that.
Maybe that was
front and
yeah.
stage section. So,
Yeah, we lowered our costs last year, trying to. The more sponsors we get, the lower our fees can be to just break even or even be just a little bit profitable.
We
on
have
the
not
sponsors.
set a ticket price yet, but
Yeah.
something that we'll want to address with the concert committee.
Yeah.
It announce.
Cause I mean, it seems like it would be good for Rodney Atkins to be able to get that also, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just good for us in Yamhill, it's good for Rodney also, so. It'd be worth looking into.
I like that idea.
And that's very common. Cause when we toured, we're gonna go to Pendleton, we called Bend and gave them a discount rate.
Yeah.
And so and then Boise.
Yeah.
Very common in the industry. So
Yeah, that's good to know.
saves us some money.
So what I think I'm hearing is we would prefer not, but if we were, we would like to see some kind of cost savings.
Have them
Yeah.
walk us into it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I would definitely say. I'd probably only allow it if we have that power to allow it, right?
Yeah.
Or not allow it. I would only do that if we could renegotiate a contract with Rodney for a lower rate.
And I would imagine that, that's something that that may not happen. But you could say, hey, we can talk about it next year, so you guys can go together to, once you pick your act, and then
Yeah.
have that balance, right? Because realistically, Yamhill would probably have to pay more for Rodney Atkins than if we're gonna keep paying them.
Yeah.
Paying them less.
Is to be signing up, if that's what we wanna do, is sign up for a package deal, then.
We should do it ahead of time instead of.
And even with them accepting our offer in the first place. 'Cause
Yeah.
It took him a while to get back and accept it.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to build a route, and I don't know what that ended up actually being.
Yeah.
So how many tickets do you sell last year for Sawyer Brown?
Last year we had Joe Nichols, I cannot recall off the top of my head, but, it's like around 2,000.
I was gonna say 2,300 or something like that.
I'm not whispering, do you need to go?
Clues? And then we sold about just under 60K in sponsorship, which is about 800 tickets in the VIP section. Yeah.
Less.
The thing about it though is the production costs have gone way
Yeah.
up. The cost of the stage, the cost of the sound, the cost of the catering, all of those costs have gone up a lot in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I think more people will come to see Rodney.
Rob, even Joe.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even know who Joe is, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
We've learned a little bit more about marketing and advertising.
it's gonna be a bigger show than you think it is.
Yeah.
I really think so. It's
I like
gonna be-
Rodney.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be close to the
Trace.
Trace Atkins situation.
That's
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah, I mean, we can do some math and we need to get this concert committee rolling and get some prices on the stage and sound locked in. So that we have a better idea when we're setting a ticket price.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be able to get to the free, but I think we could probably be affordable, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to make sure you sign these, Matt. I didn't get you to sign the minutes last
Okay.
meeting. I have been calling carnival operators. I haven't gotten many calls back. For this holiday period. I did get a call back from the Davis Shows guy. He's like, there may be a hole potentially in 2026. But it'd probably be 2 weeks earlier. So, but he doesn't know for sure. He said basically, most of them that had 2 trains that COVID shut down their second crash. It's really hard. If you look back to even when we did have Rainier come, our fair was a week earlier. It ended on July 31st. And so
Yeah.
it was a whole week earlier. That was probably the only reason why we were able to get Rainier for that year. Rainier hasn't gotten back to me. I know I tried to talk to him at that conference. I saw them the first day and they were in a meeting. And then they weren't there the next day. Apparently they
Yeah.
had to go out of town. So I haven't been able to connect with her back on the phone, but I have a list of about 10 operators. Talked to Butler. And sent them some messages on, I have a list here. Just find out. I was able to talk to somebody, she said she was gonna pass it on, but this week is the International Fair and Expo's convention in Phoenix. And so they're all acting like it. They're getting a hold of me,
Yeah.
this week or last week, it's been not in the cards, but I'm trying to get some answers on, just kind of wording it as we're not committed one way or another on what we're gonna do, but we just wanna know what our options are so that we can make a. And then the last thing that we need to be thinking about is this tax levy. Did put the background information in this binder. We'll need to get an application done sometime in the next 2 months. Yeah. That's not it.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the business agenda. Committee assignments.
We're supposed to pick our 1, 2, 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know how many that we're supposed to pick 3.
Preference, your top 3.
You do what you can, Bruce.
Gotcha.
I say no more than 3 of you can be on any one committee.
Yeah.
It's some of these will need more help than others. Like the security emergency response one probably doesn't need a huge team, it just really needs somebody to be thinking about it with us, so that you guys have input on it. The concert could have a bigger team, the vendors could have a bigger team, sponsorship could have a bigger team. So you guys want to work on those. And the other thing I did was just provided some calendars so that we could try to schedule some meetings. That's kind of the hard part is, okay, we have a committee, but now we need to get these meetings going so we can actually be starting to be productive.
And these committees meet separately from this meeting,
Yes.
preferably once a month. Or as needed.
As needed, I mean, potentially, I could see phone call meetings or in-person meetings, but it could be once a week or twice a month, depending on the month, and there's gonna be more work to do up front. Or checking in traffic for the fire. The sponsorship one's a big one, that's drawing, just beating the ground and trying to get the sponsors in. Sponsor committee has some work to do, but once everything's in motion, there's really not much to do until the week of the fair. Advertising and marketing is busy. We're gonna need to hang flyers and stuff like that and build flyers. And signs. Recruiting vendors. Recruiting sponsors. Yeah, so if you guys have your preferences and you want to talk through these.
You can throw me, Kyle, on concert, parking and security.
And these are after you're gone?
Yeah.
Okay.
So really 3 of us could still be on concert.
Yes.
You can put me on vendor acquisition. I would consider parking committee. I mean, that's the one that I want to be on, maybe non-music entertainment. And if there's like a third one, then.
So you said.
So definitely vendor acquisition.
Okay.
I could probably be helpful in like the parking committee or something, but non-music entertainment, something I'd also like to be on. But and then wherever someone needs me, if they're doing 3.
And parking, I think one of the bigger things is trying to find groups that help us with parking.
Yeah.
It's almost like a volunteer hybrid. It's like, people don't want to volunteer. To park.
I can be on sponsorship committee. And concert or non-music entertainment if there's a need for either of those.
I would say for me, open class, vendor, and security.
In the
Okay.
open class, we have Katrina Gasser, who does it, but really being somebody that can connect with her and make sure we're supporting her is the main goal. She's got it, but you have somebody here that's able to go there and report back to the team and keep everybody updated. More than anything, it's getting the fire under her before 2 months before the fair.
Yeah.
I'll take concert committee if there's still room. And I can do a volunteer acquisition and non-music entertainment.
Alright.
I can also do vendor acquisition if that's. Vendors, yeah, that one.
I'll contact Brittany also about concert committee. She said that she's been very vocal about still wanting to be involved with that, so.
Yes.
I can do the sponsorship vendor and advertising.
I haven't listed anything, but. Don't laugh. It just, it just kind of depends where everything lays after everyone else is in place and I can jump in and help where is needed. Kind of, not to sound like that, but being able to know and have knowledge on all of them. Maybe I can hop around and help out where it's needed.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, definitely we'll have, right, the sponsorship, have you in on that. I think we got some of those particular contacts.
Do you have a list of who used to be in these committees, or was there even committees before?
There was, but really only the concert committee really had much that was happening. I was meeting with Callie to work on non-music stuff, but it was like. She would just send me emails with suggestions. Like, oh, was this good? And then I'd call people. Call someone else and
Who's usually in charge of, like, for example, the parking? So if I could talk to someone to see like, hey, how does this normally go?
I'm not sure how everything went in the past, to tell you the truth, and things are a lot different. Than they were with the carnival. Because when you have the carnival operator here, they are bringing in a massive amount of event staff. And they're taking care of half of the food carts and a big chunk of the entertainment with their own management system and all of that. So it really changed what we have to be responsible for. You know, the non-music entertainment, we have a lot more to do because we're trying to make up for it. And same thing with volunteers and all that. We're having to do a lot more to make up for that.
Who's in charge of parking last year?
It was me, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Matt helped us, Matt and Brittany helped kind of lay out this concept with the handicap parking. But then between Chris and Kelly and myself, we figured out
Okay.
how to actually.
Doing great last year compared to previous years.
do the permits here. Yeah. And we had.
Nobody drove off into the ditch.
Yeah.
We had, get this handicap parking that I think looked really well.
Well, the handicap parking up there, because I'm handicapped,
Yeah,
it's very close, very hard to get in and out of,
yeah,
so you know.
yeah, and they're not
Not
regulation, ADA spots.
Also for the parking, you know, we're giving the seniors the gym at a discount for their thing. I think we should reach out to the high school and expect something back in return.
Yeah,
And the other thing with the people at the horse, use the horse arena and all these people giving stuff for free, we can talk to them about parking. And I know that the CERT, Civilian Emergency Response Team is been, instead of the local cities, have now been galvanized under the county. So if you can talk, and I'll find out from Kathy who's heading it up, because they had a meeting tonight. And we could probably get them to come out, and the CB people will come out for communications. If you need that.
What's the CB?
Pardon?
What's the CB?
Their emergency broadcasting.
Oh, the ham radio.
Ham radios, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be happy, I mean, even to set up a booth out here and communication headquarters for these guys. So all these things, and they're all free for us to use. We don't have to pay these guys. If we're letting people use the place for free,
That's
even
definitely-
the radio control guys.
that's definitely something that we've been trying to start leaning on the groups. I think even the last two groups that they not, the high school team didn't necessarily say anything about volunteering, but the other groups that we've had, we told them that when they're calling to make their proposals, say, first off, have you looked for a sponsorship? Second off, is there any kind services that you do for us, but we haven't really had a, this is what we need you to do for us at the time that they've asked us for
I
the.
think I do recall that the coach of the high school team actually did
basketball team,
volunteer
yeah.
some volunteer help during the fair.
There are some groups that,
Yeah.
that know we should be asking them to chip in, even though we didn't have a specific.
Yeah,
Like, we want you to do this at the time. Like, absolutely, right there, like, we should be, if we're. You know, we're giving these things, they should be helping us here.
How did you end up with the assignments?
Um,
Did you have overlap?
yeah, you can add me to the advertising and marketing, because there's a lot of people on the concert that want to, so I'm flexible.
So right now I've got Matt, Bruce and MJ on concert. If someone else wants to do concert and let Bruce do something else. Or if you guys are fine with that, we can put Bruce on there. It's kind of in his wheelhouse. And this is more like production of the concert, you know, it's not really the sponsorship part of the concert. It's more of the logistics of getting the concert done.
Who were the members again?
Matt, Bruce and MJ, Mary Jo. And then advertising, I've got John and Bruce. Vendors, I've got John, Joel and MJ. Sponsorship, I've got Mallory, Bruce and John. Security, I've got Matt. Parking, I've got Matt and Joel. Open class, I've got Elise. Volunteer, MJ, and non-music entertainment. Bruce and MJ. Is there something else you had said, Elise?
I was in non-music entertainment as well, right?
And can you email us all the master list?
Yeah, and
Who's on board? Sometime.
yeah, what I'll do tomorrow, I'll send a message out and try to get meetings scheduled. That's the biggest thing, like connecting. Was there other one besides that? Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I said open class, yes, vendor, and then security.
Uh,
You're gonna send this out to us.
I've got 4 on vendor, so at least
Kick me out,
John,
then.
what's that?
You can kick me out if you want. I don't need to be vendor.
Okay, it's up to you guys.
I don't care.
I got Elise, John, Joel and MJ.
Okay.
You know, the real thing is like, if you have people that you can help recruit, you don't necessarily have to be on the committee to help recruit them. More than anything with the vendor, because especially since we've already gone through the handbook piece, it's just having a team like approve them, so it's not me or Kristen making a decision on if the vendor gets in and out. It's the team collectively making the decision.
Is there a gap? Is there
Volunteer, I think John, you wanted to be on the volunteer, right? I mean, there's not really any gaps, it doesn't look like. I'll send out an update tomorrow, and then you guys can look at it, if you want to shift around. Let me know.
Who's on the bottom one? MJ, me, and who?
First.
Okay.
That was the one.
Non-music.
Well, that's like, you know, the dance classes and the logging shows and the button busting and the monster truck and make some decisions on that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So other nonprofits, the Seaside Chamber, they have Warrenton High School do all the garbage pickup for the entire beach volleyball all week. With just that idea. And I think somebody just asked them. I don't, and it's become a tradition, and that's what Warrenton.
There's usually some donation, but how much is it?
Maybe they get a couple of some free volleyballs or something, but it's they're there every year.
Yeah.
But somebody asked them first.
Yeah.
And they said, sure.
That's just like the PBL tournaments.
Yeah.
Same thing. One weekend it's golf. They're doing the clock, they're running the.
Right.
And then another weekend. It depends where they're at. But it's all of them. It's like
Right.
the minor fundraise.
So I think the biggest thing that we want to be mindful of is whoever is going to be on that volunteer committee is, yes, I love that idea. I know we've talked about it in the past on the board, is that the follow-up will need to be there with them. Because there has been times where they are scheduled to be here and then they don't show up.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, it's a great idea. I think we're all on board, just that follow-up will really need to be there with those groups, so.
Well, my question, I think this question was asked, but is there any documentation or anything from this most recent year's event for each one of these committees?
We have some, we've been tracking information, on our servers, on the server. There's not much information prior to Kristen and I being here. But we do have, we've got some stuff for the last two fairs and,
You would have like
That's
for
our-
volunteers, you have a list of volunteers.
yes, yeah, it's minimal.
There's still like 5 people on that list.
Yeah, and I can go over all this stuff with you guys. You know, there's so many moving parts to go over. But there wasn't great history to work off of. We've been working on building these systems in place, but like with the first fair, we just got through it. The second fair, we built some stuff like this handbook and better volunteer sign up, trying to get these committees rolling. But then it got to a certain point where we ran out of time and we just kind of had to make the rest of the stuff happen. So we're building on it and trying to get these trackers and schedules and having some key dates and times for when things need to happen. It's gonna take us a couple of years to get that built because there's a lot to get organized. Yeah. Yeah, oh, we can work through that in these committee meetings.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the vendor handbook. So you got pictures in there, Kristen. Very good.
I like pictures. Most people be better with pictures.
Let's say we went through, but Kristen had pretty much captured the things from our discussion. You know, everything that was just like a date or procedural, we just accepted, but the stuff that was like a change, material change, we left the changes tracked on there. You know, there's stuff that will have to kind of be tweaked as we figure out more and more of what the fair looks like the fair map and the description of what the fair is. We'll tear that down and make it just a really light, the Clatsop County Fair is gonna be these days.
Yeah.
Our attendance is about this, but then as we know more about what we have, we'll update this in the application as time goes by.
Yeah, looking it over, I thought it was great. I like the changes that were proposed and made. I saw in there that there's are we gonna have the Latino night? I think that we should continue to do that.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that's an area that we have a lot of opportunity to grow in for
Yeah.
sure in that community.
I think the
So-
conversation with some of the Hispanic advocates, before we book another band, it would make sense.
Yeah,
Just try to feel it
Yeah.
out a little bit more, because we kind of did it in the afternoon last year. Make them, I mean, we worked with Cornelia, who, you know, does those hair KOs and has done other events here at the fair. I don't know if we necessarily need to book that high of a band. I think we just need to get a good band that looks good
yeah.
and has all the instruments and the getup, and we could probably spend much less on the act and have the same result.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I will say that there was a friend from San Diego that was pumped about that.
Yeah, Selena,
I
I
mean, she was
Yeah.
pumped.
Yeah,
think we only sold like 300 tickets there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it was our first year,
Yeah.
like,
So
The
there'll
response from them was great.
be
They
a
were like,
Latino
"This is awesome."
concert that night.
On Saturday night.
Saturday,
Okay.
After auction. Is that a part of the committee?
That, we'll talk about that in the concert committee. Yeah. I think. That was, yeah, if you want to do that, it's definitely one of the conversations to have. I think that's easier to move forward with. It really changes. The biggest part of the change is on the stage and the sound rental. And we can have that conversation with them. So, but considering it, give us a quick what's it.
so if everybody's okay with it, we need to approve the vendor handbook and kind of give these guys a little bit of freedom to make minor adjustments and stuff as they see fit. So if we have a motion to do that, now would be the time to do so.
I move that we approve the handbook.
So if you want to, there's, as you've kind of like followed through the book, there's an actual motion that you guys can, if it's helpful for anyone, you guys
Yes.
can go off with.
Where was it?
It's towards the front. It's like the
It was
second
a
or
move
third
to
page.
action or where it is.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, so I move to approve the 2025 vendor handbook with the following direction for fair staff. That's already been outlined by.
That's not gonna work.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't update it
Yeah.
from last meeting.
So I don't know what to do.
Just say to move to approve the 2025 vendor. handbook.
I move to approve the 2025 vendor handbook.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
All opposed? All for? All right, there you go. All right.
Say,
Motion
just
carries.
a closing comment. The most important part is to get you guys, that you're in the loop on this,
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
there, and that you all need to support us when we're dealing with vendors, because the vendors can be one of the most challenging parts of the fair.
Yeah.
Is they, their world is their booth. And you say, well, no, you can't leave. That's the big one. They want to leave before the fair starts.
Yeah.
And then it just creates a ripple around the entire fair.
I would encourage you guys to figure out what your process is to get feedback so that you're ready for next year. I don't know if you pick a vendor or two and ask them like, I don't know if you already do that.
Yeah,
Do you understand this or questions or kind of keep track of the questions or confusion that might come up? I don't know if you already do that, but.
We do, we have some surveys that we did, and the vendor one was helpful, and that was really
I was
one that,
talking about this guy, that's updating the document.
oh, this,
Yeah.
I don't have, I don't know if we necessarily got feedback from the handbook.
Well, we take back questions and emails and notes and ongoing list of notes that.
Yeah, just do that in for next time.
Yeah.
It may be interesting to get, like, actually ask some of the, maybe a new fair attendee. Just let our vendor, just ask them if they had any thoughts on the handbook, if there's something that, yeah, maybe they won't ask you directly, but that way it, and I can get you involved it.
You know, we had a particular one, and that's kind of the reason for the photo. They set up, their just like spelled out. It's like, we're gonna have to make that clearer.
Yeah.
One of the other ones we had a conflict with. Well, I said, I didn't read the handbook.
Yeah.
So,
That's not our problem. You signed it. Yeah. All right, arena signs.
yeah, this is just getting you guys in the loop, like, if we just do this stuff and renew it without you guys.
I said it last time. I got more than $250 for one concert at the Liberty from two different venues. I just
Yeah.
think that's so cheap. And maybe y'all don't, y'all might not realize it's a huge bargain.
I think we do know that it is very cheap, and I think it was lower than that. I think that we were afraid to make such a big jump to start with. I think we have like
Yeah, we're
continued.
trying to slowly.
Bump it up.
I'm just telling you, outside of Clatsop Fair,
Yeah,
there's vendors that pay $200 just to be on a poster for the Liberty.
yeah.
Oh,
for
yeah.
One event.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we saw that with the rodeo and stuff too.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
That, it just strikes me. I'm gonna talk to my wife and see if she wants to do it. It's just too little money.
So
Yeah.
last year we were at 200 and we bumped up to 250 last year.
It's a bargain.
If you guys want to bump it up again this year, we can certainly do that. And that's, really why we're bringing this to you, to get you guys. I'm not sure if the board was even involved with the arena sign renewals in the past at any
I
level.
don't think so.
Or were even aware that it was happening. I think one of the points I want to make is we didn't get renewals from
I
a
need to
couple
know
of
if there's
these
a
that
list.
we need to take down.
Well, you guys know better than me. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
it's stunned me.
I absolutely wouldn't be
So cheap.
afraid to bump that up to $300.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I would say too.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying we should. I'm just telling this board.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, and also, I mean, we are operating under a levy, and I mean, we're trying
That's
to,
different.
we're trying to benefit the community, as well as, I mean, all the businesses here, they They pay taxes
Well,
too. We get.
I'm gonna
so-
be a good ambassador for
Yeah.
letting people know about
Yeah.
this availability.
Yeah.
We have a ton of empty wall space
Yep.
I
here.
get
and a
it.
ton of empty space there that we could definitely
I
expand.
don't think a lot of people know that what can be had for $250.
Yeah.
So there is a second program that we could add on as well. I mean, it's not the same as arena sign, but it's a sponsorship sign. But out by the flagpole, there are bricks. And there still is room for another probably 250, 300 bricks out there.
Yeah.
That we just really need to reinvent that again and start saying bricks again. I don't know why it stopped. It was just something that a manager didn't want to deal with, or if there was a focused decision to not do it, or if it just weren't getting applicants or not, but there's room and it's recessed and there's space for them. So
So if someone gets one of them boards, you call them every year to renew it, or how does that work?
So they're good for a year. So
But do they have to get a hold, or are you gonna call and be like, hey, you gonna renew, or?
we'll send them, that's in here. So there's a spreadsheet of all of our current sponsors. And then we have a renewal letter, and then we have a letter for new. Sign. So we'll send them this letter with an invoice. Last year, another thing that we did, was we actually sent a photo of the board to them. Because some of them did get updated, but a couple people said, oh crap, that's really old, we need to update that.
Yeah.
And they still didn't update them, but like, it even has Steve, but that's a really old one. The Northwest Natural one, I mean, that thing might be back in style. It's getting to be that old.
Yeah.
There's some old signs up there. But I don't think I think a lot of them, they just pay it because it was so affordable, like
Yeah.
you're saying, $200. They just pay and go.
Yeah. Well, do we need to make a motion to do that, or
I think it's a motion to increase it
Yeah.
to 300.
does anybody want to make a motion to increase to $300 for that?
I make a motion to increase the arena signs to $300 a piece.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed?
Y'all convinced me to $250 for the bargain, so
Aye.
but we don't want to lose anybody.
No, it's fine, you know, I like to think the goal is slowly increase we're increasing our fees very slowly and trying to raise.
$500 sounds like a good number for it, but I think getting there, right?
Well, I don't want, I just didn't want to be the bad guy. I
No,
just
no,
was
you're
saying
good.
that it's just cheap.
That's why you're on the board.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Financial report?
Yeah, so it's the same report as last month, like I had mentioned before, we kind of got ahead being so late in the month last.
Yeah.
But what I did include this time was our breakout from
Yeah, there it
our
is.
financial software, where we have a revenue report, so that's our income, and there is a appropriations report, which is our expenses. Which is a little bit easier to read when you're looking at it as a budget for me. The other one is more of an accountant wanting to look at it. This is the tool I use when I'm tracking it every day, looking at these revenues and appropriation reports. So if you guys want to look over those a little bit more, and if you have any questions, it might be a little bit easier to dial into what's happening here. I also did put the budget in this binder, so it's one of the sections in this binder if you want to look at it. This is just our section out of a 600-page document that the county has our budget in.
So what's this mean? The realized revenue, unrealized balance? What are those two numbers represent?
Okay, so the estimated revenue is the budget, basically what we budgeted to anticipate for revenue. The realized revenue is what we've received year to date so far.
Oh,
And then the unrealized balance is either the plus or minus of what we expected, so. Like the ATM fees, we expected to bring in $2,500 in revenue, and brought in 740. We still have 1,700 to go. We'll hit the majority of that revenue at the Scandinavian Festival. So over here.
What is your fiscal year?
It's June 30th, so July 1st through June 30th. And we will need to be hitting this pretty hard. This actually reminds me, I got an email from the finance director at 422, and I still haven't read it because it came in while I was grabbing all my stuff. This doesn't really apply to us, but he's talking about the rest of the county budgets are looking to do a status quo budget, and they're actually looking at ways that they can reduce their expenses. The county is kind of in a tight spot with the timber revenue losses, and they're scrambling, trying to make up several $1 million in lost timber revenues. So they're saying leaving vacant positions open, suspending engaging projects that haven't been budgeted. Instances where savings have or can be realized, expected, and not substituted for something else. We kind of have unique funding because we have designated funding for our next space, but I think it does highlight the issue that, if we were to lose our bond, the county doesn't have money to bail us out.
Yeah.
So those are things to be considering.
Is that like a different committee?
The budget will be as a team, but really, I will look at the budget, and if there's particular things you all want to see one way or the other. But I will bring together like a draft, and then we'll look over it, and then you guys we can adjust it as it's, but it's basically if we're gonna be prorate out what we've done this year.
But does the board need to be involved in the levy?
So we'll need to get the application in, and again, I'll do the groundwork on getting the application filled out, but the part that I'll need from you guys is really what did we do with the money, which it's gonna be tough with the new board to help with that, but try to reach into what has happened, but talking about what we want to do with the money. And then us as fair staff, we can't actually promote the tax levy. But I think you all can, as elected officials, can really promote them. So your role is really gonna be being support. And we'll have to come up with whatever statement we want on the actual ballot measure. That's something that you guys I want you guys to approve. And if you have any.
When is the timeline for that?
I don't have a hard date. I know that the last time they did it, was in February of the year that it was due.
Can't be that far
So
off.
it's, it's coming right up.
Yeah.
Tracy is the county clerk. She gave me a copy of the county, city, and district referral manual for the tax. She said, but really, I only need to read pages 3 and 8. So I need to read pages 3
It
and
needs
8.
to be on the agenda for next month.
I think so, yeah. Yes, I think it's on the rolling calendar.
Yeah, yep.
So this is a priority. We're not gonna survive without it.
Yeah, no, we won't.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend a whole part of the work session looking over the budget. If you have any questions on it, or if you have any questions that come up after the meeting, give me a call.
Okay. Anything for the good of the order?
Remind me what that is.
Just really anything that you have that would benefit the group, anything that might have came up during this meeting that you want to discuss a little bit further, or anything like that, but we're just kind of wrapping up with final thoughts. That one's, yeah, Bruce?
I got one thing, but I gotta be on that side of the table. Cause I don't know how to do this.
What do you got, bud?
It's come to my attention that the fair board must approve the opening act for the concert. That can run up to $6,000 or something. I have a proposal. I'm local. I've toured nationally. I can fit the genre. I got 3 local people that will play with me, including a pedal steel player, a dobro player. We'll do it for $800.
Yeah.
And I got a written proposal for that. And I'm okay with no, it's just $6,000. I don't know if every county has a full-time touring musician in their county. So I don't know how to present that. But if the board doesn't approve it, it can't go to the ultimate decision maker, which is the agent and the artist. So I don't know how to proceed.
So I think, one, we have to run that through county council
Yeah.
to see if that's something that you would even be able to do legally.
Yeah, don't know.
With their advice. And then two, I think we probably have to run that through Eric to see if you and your band meet the qualifications of our
And
man.
I may not, probably, but I might.
Yeah, so I think that's fair. And I think that's something worth looking into for sure.
Okay.
And
That's it.
that's where we throw it to Kyle and have him do what he's getting paid for, and then he'll report back to us next meeting.
And
Well,
I made this clear at the interview with the county commissioners that I have a conflict of interest.
yeah, I was there for that. I remember that. So, yeah.
That's all I've got.
Yeah, I've had some initial conversation about it, there's definitely, and this could be a good topic to discuss when it's here. Next meeting, doing the ethics training piece. It's the financial interest is where the conflict of interest is. If you don't have a financial benefit, then there's no conflict of interest. And there's a potential or a perceived conflict of interest if there's no financial piece. And so there would be a recusal. But the question is, at what level of engagement with the concert would you need to be recused from?
And I would pay for free,
Just
just
from
to
that.
pay my guys in the band.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I want no hint of impropriety. $6,000, a lot of money.
We did get Paige did send a message about some guy named Max Thompson, Max something. But it was like $7,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle will look into that for us and see where we're at.
I'm already assuming it's a no, but what if?
Never know until we ask, right?
Yeah.
Joel, you got anything? Nope. Mallory, other than freezing?
Nope, I had just like all of a sudden just for reason. So I had to get up and move, sorry.
What do you got?
I.
You're hungry? Me too.
Move for dinner.
Yeah. All right,
Thank you all.
we're adjourned. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Left my notes on your. Picture for you. My scribble.
Okay, thank you.
Some of the.
Yeah, yeah.
I really love this right here, because it is directly.
We'll talk about it.
I was too loud. They're the ones that came to tell me I was too loud, so that was directly to me.
I